Yes, good evening, everyone. This is CA Rupali Bothra, Aurangabad branch managing committee member. And we are here for the today's program, How to Crack ESA 2.0 Assessment Test. So on behalf of Aurangabad branch and Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, I would like to welcome you all for today's virtual seminar. Firstly, I would like to welcome Nanda sir and Dayanivas sir in absentia for allowing us to hold this program from on behalf of Aurangabad branch. And today's speakers, Dr. Omkar Nath and Vinay Saini sir. Welcome you all for today's session. Lot of our members have cleared ESA 80, but somewhere we need some ideas and shortcuts through which we can clear our 80 exams. And for this, we have two of our learned speakers who have been associated with this ESA course since long. So we'll move further. And to start with, I would like to ask Branch Chairman Aurangabad Branch, CA Yogesh Agrawal, to give his welcome speech. Yogesh, over to you.
Thank you, Rupali Madam. Chairman of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, what we call as DAP, CA Charanjot Singh Nanda sir. Vice Chairman of DAAB, CA Dayanivas Sharma sir in his absentia. Today's speaker, our beloved Dr. Omkar Nath sir and Dr. Vinay Saini sir. Moderator CA Rupali Bothra, my committee colleague. Amit Gupta sir, Secretary of DAAB. All participants, good evening to all of you.
Good evening.
And, first of all, Charanjot Singh Nanda sir and Gupta sir, thanks a lot for giving this opportunity to Aurangabad branch. This was so casual, this thing, connect with Rupali madam and Charanjot Singh Nanda sir ki Rupali, ye program hai aapko lena hai. So I was too happy to got to know this conversation from Rupali madam. We are also happy to announce at Aurangabad branch we are hosting national conference on 3rd and 4th of December on indirect taxes under the able leadership of Rajendra Kumar P sir and vice chairman of that committee C. Umesh Sharma sir. Chairman is Rajendra Kumar P sir. With this short note, I once again welcome you all to this live webinar on how to crack ESA test 2.0 test. Sir, I am also the one of the victim who could not crack this ESA 80 test.
Okay.
So once again, I welcome you all. Thank you. Over to you, Rupali. Rupali?
Hello. Now I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Yogesh sir. So we have amongst us Charanjot Singh Nanda sir, who is chairman of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. And Nanda sir, आपके बारे में तारीफ करना यानी हमको ज्यादा शायरी नहीं आती है, लेकिन सूरज को आईना दिखाना जैसे होगा. But still, I would just like to say a few words about Nanda sir. Firstly, would like to thank you, sir, कि आपका जो प्यार है औरंगाबाद ब्रांच के लिए, उसके लिए. And just a small introduction. Presently, Nanda sir is the Central Council member and chairman of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, Internal Audit Standards Board, and Committee on Information Technology of South Asian Federation of Accountants, that is SAFA, and vice chairman for Banking, Financial Services and Insurance Committee, ICI. So in the past, he has held the various posts at ICI, chairman of various committees, vice chairman of various committees. Sir, आपका अगर हम पढ़ेंगे तो शायद घंटा भी कम पड़ जाए. He is presently member of SEBI Advisory Committee. Sorry, he was the member of SEBI Advisory Committee for the period 2007-2010 and Committee on Mutual Funds 2007-2010. And has represented ICI on SEBI Committee on Disclosures and Accounting Standards. He has been the convener of the expert group constituted by MCA, Government of India on Investor Protection, member of Southern Asian Federation of Accountants, member of Northern Indian Regional Council, of course, जो हमने देखा है from 1998 to 2001 and 2001 to 2004, chairman of NIRC for 2002-3 and treasurer of NIRC for 98-99, 99-2000 and 2001-2. So we can just see कि सर का contribution ICI में कितना पुराना और कितना ज़्यादा रहा है. Professionally, he is speaker at various places, speaker at Survey, Vancouver, Canada, British Columbia chapter of ICI, contributed as guest faculty and program coordinator at various seminars and conferences which are organized by international bodies. Presentations and chaired various sessions on overview of proposed GST regime, IAS 12, IAS 18 on revenue, overview of financial and accounting standards, and the list is endless. So, sir, I would like to welcome you for your keynote address. Nanda sir, over to you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Rupali ji. The chairman of Aurangabad branch, C. Yogesh Agarwal, two of my very revered speakers of the day, Dr. Onkar Nath, Mr. Vinay Saini, Madam Bothra, Amit ji, the secretary of this committee, and all who have joined here to go home more enlightened. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to tell you one thing very candidly, very simply. If you intend to go high in your CA practice, your indulgence in technical impetus has to be at the highest level. The more you hone your technical skills, the better impetus you will have to perform. People come and tell me that, Mr. Nanda, the traditional CA practices are dwindling. I said, yes, they are dwindling. But at the same time, there are newer professional opportunities that are coming at the largest level. Your board, DAB, of which I am the chairman, is the first in the world to come out with 23 forensic standards. I want to congratulate you and compliment you for the recently concluded World Congress of Accountants in Mumbai. More than 7,000 participants, 2,000 international participants, more than 2,500 virtual participants. Everything was a conflux of a great organization, which ultimately resulted in building the image of ICI India, of which all of us are proud members. Technology is playing a great role. Information system audit essentially speaks of undertaking audit in such environment where you are able to effectively use technology and have three basic benefits. Number one, you don't need to go for samples. You can take the testing of the entire database. Number two, the work has to be error-free. That is the biggest incentive you have when you use technology. And the third important thing is that computer does not have a wife. It does not have Saturdays, Sundays, holidays, festivals. It knows only how to work, and therefore the computer doesn't think the work which we all consider monotonous. And therefore the results are manifold, fantabulous. So ladies and gentlemen, today's session was deliberately kept to ensure that all members who are trying to do ISA are able to crack ISA 2.0. That would not only help you to have greater professional opportunities, but would help not only your clients, your stakeholders, but the regulators and government as well. All across the country, people look upon you for the professional ventures, and doing audit in computerized environment is something that will ultimately pave a very smooth way of growth of our nation. One thing I would like to tell you at the end, I receive call from so many people who would tend and tell me that, sir, we work so hard, yet nobody praises us. Just to answer that in a very simple way, there is a couplet in Urdu which says, तारीफ की चाहत तो नाकाम लोगों की फितरत है. तारीफ की चाहत तो नाकाम लोगों की फितरत है. काबिल लोगों के तो दुश्मन भी कायल होते हैं. If you are competent, people love you, respect you. Your bitterest of your enemy and always admire you. So, ladies and gentlemen, put in your best, clear this ISA 2.0 and come out winner, and ensure that we are able to effectively service our clients and the society at large. Thanks, Aurangabad branch, for coming here. I want to thank both the speakers who have been very kind enough to come and take the baton of training our members. Thank you. Thank you so much. Madam Bothra, the dice is all yours now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you a lot, sir. नंदा सर, आपको सुनने के बाद एक अलग ही इंस्पिरेशन और जज्बा हम लोगों में आ जाता है. थैंक्स अ लॉट फॉर योर वर्ड्स, सर. So to start with the session today, firstly we have Dr. Omkar Nath with us, and we would like to ask, sir, पहले आप ही ले रहे हैं, विनय सानी सर ले रहे हैं?
नहीं, मैं ही ले रहा हूँ.
Okay, okay. So to first, I would like to introduce
Yogesh, is there any problem from my side? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay.
Very
okay.
much audible, Omkar Nath ji. Please start this session.
Okay.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are audible now.
Probably there was some technological glitch. So I was at the introduction of Omkar Nath sir. Sir, आपकी डिग्रीज और ये देखते हुए मैं अगर इसका इंट्रोडक्शन आपका पूरा पढूं तो probably पूरा सेशन उसी में खत्म हो जाएगा.
Not required, not required. Just you have introduced.
And I know we all at Aurangabad have learned a lot from you. You have physically been here a lot many times.
Yes, yes.
Sir, so
And I do agree with Nanda sir that Aurangabad food is very good.
oh, thank you, thanks a lot, sir.
Ishan used to take me every time whenever I am going that Krishneshwar and food.
Right, sir, right, sir.
And with Nanda sir, my association is of more than 1.5 decade. I remember 2007 in month of October, we met him in Kerala. Okay, it was a national conference there, and there we met, and since then many interactions. Most of the physical sessions also. When I was in Ludhiana, he met me. Incidentally, he was there and we met me. So it happens. Well, thank you very much, ma'am. My introduction is over.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Let me take my session. I will put that slide what you are referring to.
Right.
Okay. I will put that slide. So let me share my screen.
Yeah.
I will put that slide. Okay. So, ma'am was calling about this. Okay. My chat is open. I think chat is not open for the participant. So interaction will be only at the end. No problem. Rupali ma'am, am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So interaction will be question answer session will be at the end.
Sir, I would just like to ask you whether the question answer session should we keep at the end after both the speakers speak, or after your session ends? How
after my you put my mine after my session at 7:20. It will be okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with this, because both we have divided our segregated our modules, so it will be like that.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
And good evening to everyone. And it's at a right note. I am starting the session what Nanda sir has told. Okay, that why you are able to excel in accounting or accounting profession, because you understand accounting. Okay, nobody is going to challenge you. Your expertise is there, so that's why you are able to do practice. I always used to tell that because you have done your articleship in accounting, so that's why the day you are getting your COP, you are able to start your profession at your own. You can open the proprietary firm also, and you can accounting firm, and you can do the start your profession because you understand that. The same thing is required here. If you are able to understand technology, then you will not have any problem. Where is the problem? I am telling you based on my experience. My association with Institute of Chartered Accountants is of almost 2 decades. Okay, right from the ISA when it has been started. In the beginning, Nanda sir has told that what he used to do. Even after 5 years, 6 years, we used to put a slide in the sessions that what are the opportunity available if you are able to complete this ISA. Okay, that time it was DISA. So in today's scenario, everybody is able to understand. I used to tell only two things, that you spend a day without your mobile and without your laptop or computer. Then you can understand what is the significance of technology, and you will agree with the each and every words what Nanda sir has told in his opening remarks. Okay, so with this, I am starting the session. First thing which is required for clearing not only this any such type of exam, technology is not a difficult thing. Technology is the most easiest subject in the world. The most difficult subject, what I understand, is the accounting. Okay, and really I feel that accounting is the toughest subject in the world. Reason being, you may have different variations of balance sheet from the same trial balance. Okay, you may have, but in technology, such type of scenario is not there. Only either it is there or it is not there. Okay, so either it will be wrong or it will be right. In between that, nothing is there. Reason being, the suspense account what you are using in accounting is not available in the technology. It is only without suspense account we are working. So either it is existing or it is not existing. In my opinion, based off my experience, if you are going to decide that you are going to practice in this area, the way you are practicing in the accounting profession, you are going to decide that you are not getting the certificate just for a few marks for the tender or just for the ornamental purpose, then 100% you are going to clear this. Reason being, you are going to understand, because you have to practice. When you have to practice, then you have to understand the concepts, you have to understand the scenarios, and you will try to implement it. What does it mean? You will develop a skill set in you. Okay, that is the requirement. That is the only requirement. When you understand this, the concepts which is there in the ISA 2.0, then you will be able to clear it. It's not a difficult thing. It's the easiest thing. I will give you why the technology is the easiest thing in the world. I will give you 3 reasons for that. First thing, it doesn't have its own language to communicate. It has borrowed English. You understand the working English. I also understand the working English. I have never studied in convent. You can understand from an accent. Okay, but I know working English. I deliver sessions in English across the globe, from Japan to USA, anywhere. Okay, but computer communicates in that language, so that you know. Second thing, it is the most illiterate language. No language, no machine you will get which is so illiterate. It understands only 0 and 1. So very easy. In few seconds, you can understand 0 and 1. So everything is represented in the form of 0 and 1. And third thing, nothing is changed in the technology as far as the practice is concerned. Whatever the calculations or manipulations of data is happening in the manual scenario, the same thing is happening in the technology scenario. Okay, so with this, I will start my session, that cracking ISA 2.0. Okay. First session, incidentally, first session of this type of refresher course was conducted by myself and Mr. Sani, Dr. Sani, at Delhi, and it was Delhi. 181 participants were there from across the country. And after that, the second session was conducted in Aurangabad, and I was the only faculty who has conducted that session, full session at refresher course at Aurangabad. So this is, I think, third or fourth session for the Aurangabad which is happening. The third session also I was there. So first thing, what I used to tell, that your manuals, domains are going to be the Bible for you. Bible for you means if you are able to understand the concepts. Say, for example, we understand at a theory level that what does it mean by the detective, preventive, and corrective controls. Okay, but when it comes to the applications, we forget. So if we apply the real life scenario, you'll be able to understand. Say, for example, backup. So if you understand the backup is a corrective control, BCP DRP is a corrective control, then you are able to understand that whenever impact is there, then these controls are going to be activated. Without impact, these controls are not going to be activated. Similarly, preventive is not going to eliminate. It is going to prevent up to the desired level. Okay, so it is creating a resistance. Detective doesn't do anything. Okay. Similarly, resistance is also created by change in modification. So you can understand the date control also. Okay. So this way, if you are able to understand the concepts, then it will be easy for you. So first you go through your domain. That is my suggestion. Once you go through the domains, and while going through the domains, many concepts you are already aware of that. Okay. So you will find that almost you are 40%, 45%, 50%, or 55%. Already you are there. It's not like that you are not there. It's a question of only 5%. So you are already having the major part of that. Only the peanuts part is not there with you. Only for that you have to make the effort. Few concepts I will give you in this before going for the questions, discussing the questions. And those concepts, I will tell you that particularly where the more confusion is there, that is of the IP address. People understand that is a technical thing, no IP addressing. In ISA 2.0, you are having some 2-3 questions are going to be discussed on the IP address, that it is of which class, it is of public address or private address, what is subnet mask, like that these concepts are going to be discussed. Another thing of the risk. However, you are a risk practitioner, but still I will give you certain inputs which is going to help you to prepare yourself for the examination in a shorter period. And you can keep the risk parameters on your fingertips. So I will give you the one-pager document which is going to help you to understand that what does it mean by the risk. Okay. And after that, we are going to discuss about the questions. Okay. These questions are, I am not claiming that these questions are going to be asked in the examination. Sorry, 1 minute. But we are discussing the concepts. Through that, you can understand where concept clarity is not there. Within a short span of time, 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, it's difficult to cover the whole galaxy of things which is there in your module. But most of the things have already been discussed. We are the last faculty. We are summarizing these things and giving you the input which is going to help you for clearing the ISA exam. Okay. So first, let me explain the IP address, and after that, I will come back to the questions. Okay. IP addressing. This PPT, if you need, we can share the PPT to you. That is not the problem. So I am discussing about the IP address, IP addressing. IP addressing version 4. Okay, this is also known as the IPv4. So there are 5 class of IP addresses. Okay, A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, we all know that the addresses are in 4 octet. These are known as the octet. Okay, if you will take example 192.168.1.1 or 1.0 or 0.1, something like that. Okay, it's 4 octet. This octet, so it starts from octet means 8. When it is 8, then it is going to be the maximum number how we can get 2 to the power 8. So what will be the value? We'll see. Okay, so it starts from this, and the value we are going to get the 256 to the power 8. We are going to get the value 256. This thing is going to help us to understand it is of which class. You need not require to memorize the things. Okay, I am challenging you that after 5 minutes you will be able to understand that this address is of which class. You need not require to memorize the thing. Okay, subnet mask also you can understand. Those things you can understand easily. Okay, so when it is 256 and our all calculation in computer starts with 0. So it is going to be the last number what we are going to get is 255, 255, 255, 255. Okay. If you will take the binary value, y up to this, all ones is there in the 255. This is a decimal value. If you will go for the binary value, it will be all ones. All ones means 8 times ones will come. So after that, we can't have the different value, because in computer, we have the binary number system, only 0 and 1. We do not have 2. 2 is also represented by 0 and 1. Everything is represented by that. Okay. So we have got the starting of A and ending of E. Now, if you are going to get the starting of all, then we are able to get the ending of the previous class. So let us start that one. So very easy calculation. You divide 256 by 2. What we are getting? 128. So the B will start, we will add in this 0. This addition is different the way we are going into the normal mathematics. Normal mathematics, we add it from the right hand side. Here we are adding from the left hand side. Okay, this is the only difference which we are getting. Computer a little bit different from that manual machines. So we are getting 128 from 0.0.0. Okay. Again, you divide it by 2. We are getting 64. Add it here 64. We are getting the next value 192.0.0.0. Okay. Again we are going to divide it by 2. Adding here we are getting 224 0.0.0. Okay. And similarly, again we are going to do it. We are getting 16. Adding 16 here, and we are getting the value 240. So E is complete 240.0.0.0, and it goes up to this 255.255. If you are going to, the B is going to start with 128, what will be the value of the last value of A class? It should be 127. Okay, but here is an anomaly. 127 whole series is a reserve class, so it is going to end at 126. I will show you. Okay. Similarly, the B is going to end at 191, 255, 255, 255. C is going to end at 223, 255, 255, 255. And D is going to end at 239, 255, 255, 255. Okay. We have got all these values. Now, from here, easily you can understand which IP address is in which class. Out of this class A, B, and A, B, C, D, E, only A, B, and C is used for internet and intranet. The D and E, D is used for the multicasting, and E is used for the research and development purpose. So this is of not for our purpose. Okay, we are having A, B, and C. Within this, I told you that A is going to end at 126. Reason being 127 whole series is going to be the reserve class. A, B, and C, certain range of which is there in the red font is private IP. There is no shortcut for this. This is the 10 series in class A, 172.16.0.0 to 172.31.255.255. This is going to be, and the in C class 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.255.255. These ranges, which is written in red font, is private IP, known as a private IP. And private IPs are not recognized on the internet. These are only going to be used in the intranet environment. And they can be duplicated, but not in same network, different network. So I can use this IP. You can also use in your network the same IP in your intranet. Okay. If you are going to remove these ranges from the respective classes, whatever left out is known as a public IP. And public IPs are there on the internet. All web servers which are on the internet, www, are having the public IP. And they are unique across the globe. That's why we are able to reach to the specific domain or a specific server, web server. Okay. Now, within this class A, B, and C, the first octet in class A is known as network address. So we are going to fix here 255. I am talking about the subnet mask. Okay, default subnet mask. Okay, so this default subnet mask is the first octet is going to be the network address. So if you will change this one, then what will happen? We are doing subnetting within the network. We are creating the subnet. So if you are going to change this, then we'll go to the different network. So for this is fixed 255. You cannot change this one. After that, you can't get it. Now these are the 0.0.0. This you can create the subnet. So that many number of subnet you can define. How you can define? How this address is moving ahead? This is 0.0.0.0. So after that, you will get 1. This 1, 2, 3, 4, it will go to the 255. When this will 255, we will add 1. This will become 1. And again, it will become 0. Again, it will become 255. Then it will become 2. When this one become 255, this will become 1. And again, all this will become 0. So that many number of nodes we are getting into that. Similarly, For class B, 128.0 is going to be, first 2 octet is going to be the network address. So that's why default subnet mask is 255.255.0.0. And for C, this 3 octet is going to be the network address. So that's why 255.255.255.0 is going to be the subnet mask. This is the thing which you need to know for answering 3-4 questions. I think it is there in the AT exam, what I have seen, because as a faculty, we are not participating into that. So this is our assumption based on the feedback of the participants that this type of questions are coming. We are telling this thing. Okay. Now, if we are not using the default subnet mask, then even with the public address, then those addresses are not recognized on the internet. Those are known as a non-routable, like the IPs. Okay. This is not there for you, just for information. I'm telling you, for AT exam, this much is sufficient. Okay. Now coming to the another topic which I told you regarding the risk, I will give you the one-pager document which is going to help you for the AT exam. Okay. So this is that document. Okay. Complete risk management process is here on the single page. Okay. This is the risk management process. It starts with the context establishment. Some faculty must have discussed with you. Just I am summarizing here. Okay. So if you are going to keep this one pager in your mind, you can understand your question is in which bucket. Okay. So in risk assessment, we are having 3 processes. You see, 3 processes. What happens at what stage in bucket, that is also written here in this document. Okay. So risk assessment is having 3 sub processes: risk identification, risk analysis, and risk evaluation. And this is, you will see what activity is happening: risk identification 5, risk analysis 3, and risk evaluation 2. This is the risk identification. They are going to identify the 5 elements: assets, threats, vulnerabilities, existing controls, and consequences. Okay. Only identification is happening here. What is risk? Threat coupled with vulnerability is a risk. If threat is there, vulnerability is not there, risk is not there. If vulnerability is there, threat is not there, risk is not there. But over a period of time, the threat scenario or vulnerability scenario may change. That's why we are having a provision of review of the process. Okay. So risk identification, 5 elements are going to be identified. If you are finding threat is coupled with vulnerability, then we are moving ahead for those processes, those threats, risk analysis, assessment of consequences, how much impact will be there, if at all it is going to materialize, assessment of incident likelihood, determination of the level of the risk. Depending upon that, which business process will be hit by the risk. Okay. Now, after this, we are going to map it to the 2 important parameters, which is known as risk tolerance and risk appetite. Okay. So risk appetite is the outer limit for the enterprise, which is acceptable to the enterprise or the senior management. That which is acceptable level of risk is known as the risk appetite. So if this risk analysis is not meeting that one, then you have to give the risk treatment. That risk treatment is in another bucket. Here we are having 4 risk treatment options. I used to call it ATMA: avoid, transfer, mitigate, and accept. And whole process of risk management is going to converge here. It is ATM: avoid, transfer, mitigate, and accept. ATMA. Okay. Risk avoidance means go out of that environment. Risk transfer means you are transferring the impact. Risk is not transferred. Okay. Risk will impact you. When it is going to impact, then the transfer option is going to be executed. Okay. Only after impact. Risk mitigation. This is the only option where risk reduction is going to take place. And risk acceptance, as is where is. Without implementing anything, explicitly, the senior management is going to accept the risk. So these are the risk treatment options. These are the recommendations. After these recommendations, when these recommendations are going to be accepted by the senior management, then this implementation of control are going to take place, whatever decision has been taken for the risk mitigation. And then risk monitoring and review is taking place, and risk communication and consultation. So these are the 2 wings, which is simultaneously it is happening. Okay, only after this acceptance. Now, few concepts are there that which is that inherent risk, current risk, residual risk, risk tolerance. Risk tolerance is that it is a discretion of the management, but it should never cross the risk appetite. Risk appetite is the outer limit. Okay. And residual risk is after implementation of these controls, whatever will be left out will be residual risk, and it should be less or equal to the risk appetite. Current risk is the risk which is there with the existing control. Inherent risk is without any control. Okay. So if you are going to purchase the computer or mobile, you are having a default PIN, you are having a default ports, you are having a default users, default passwords. With that, that is the inherent risk. If you are going to change the password, it becomes the current risk. Okay. So that way you can understand this one. Hope this is going to help you to understand this process if you are, because, and another thing, after identification of the risk, what happens? The first activity is assign the ownership. Ownership is going to be assigned. After that, all these things are happening. Hope these two concepts are going to help you to understand. Third concept, I have told you that controls, preventive, detective, and corrective controls. Okay. And we are having a logical and physical controls. Okay. You can understand the physical controls, biometric. Biometric, generally people understand it is a technical control or logical control. But it is a physical control because physical things, our physiological features are involved in the biometric. Okay. So now with this, let me go to the questions. Through that, we will try to understand, and I will stop at, I've got 25 questions to discuss, but wherever it will be 7:20, I'm going to stop that one. We'll have 10 minutes, we'll have a good discussion. Okay. 7:30, we'll have a Dr. Sen. So this is the first question that during a review of customer master file, an IS auditor discovered numerous customer name duplications arising from variation in customer first name. To determine the extent of the duplication, the IS auditor would use the test data to validate data input, test data to determine systems or capabilities, generalized audit software we use to tell gas, to search for address field duplication, and generalized audit software to search for account duplication software. So first thing, that if you are able to read the question carefully, you will get the answer from there. Okay. First thing, it is talking about the determining the duplication. So automatically you can see that this is going to be that eliminated. Let us see what is the answer of this, and we'll see the discussion on that. Okay. So here we are talking about the answer is going to be the C. This was the answer, generalized audit software to search for the address field duplication. I told that these two are going to be eliminated because already, if you will read the question carefully, you will find that answer is there. Okay. Here also, if you see, it is talking about the name field. Okay. It is not talking about the account field duplication. It is a name field. So name field is going to be the column. So that is going to help us to understand. So even though you do not have the concept clarity somewhere, you should have. But if in some questions you do not have, then you can do this type of activity and you can understand. Read the question carefully. The answers are there in the question stem. Spend time to understand the question stem. After that, you come to this. I am telling you, at more than 60% time, you will get a right answer in a single attempt. Okay, if you are going to spend time here. I always used to tell that you read like a 5-year-old guy. The greatest challenge for such type of examination is that we read so many things which is not written based on our experience, because we are the practicing the professionals. So we are having a lot of legacy of experience, and on the basis of that, we add so many things here. But every question is going to be the individual question. Every question is going to be connected to the individual scenario. Your next question is not going to be part of that, your previous question. Okay, maybe on the same topic, but every question is going to be the independent. So read the question stem carefully. That is going to help you to arrive here at the right option. I told you that you read the questions like a 5-year-old guy. How they read? You watch. You spend 2 minutes, 5 minutes time to watch how 5-year-old kid is going to read. They read only whatever is written. If it is not written, they don't read. Okay, so that clarity is required for such type of objective type questions. Okay, another thing that we it is a adult learning. Adult learning, what happens? Spending 4 hours in the examination is a very difficult task, no? Doing that one. And that is also mum and only reading. So you have to develop that stamina. Okay. Have some deep breathing. Okay. Have some deep breathing. That is going to help you to have energy. Okay. Whenever during the examinations, I'm one of my qualification is that I am an international yoga instructor. I am registered at cyai.org. I conduct trainings, yoga trainings for the corporates internationally. Okay, so on the basis of I'm traditionally trained for that at Lonavala, at Kavaladham. Okay, 1 year I have spent for that, and the highest fees I have paid for that, whatever the certifications we have seen out of that. So have deep breath. That is going to give you the energy. That will give you the freshness. Okay, if tables are allowed, you are not diabetic patient, then have some glucose-rich chocolate, 5-star. Cadbury's like this you have, that will also immediately give you the energy. So you'll get freshness. Okay. Otherwise, you will keep yourself away from the questions, reading the questions. You will complete like a routine. That is not required. That freshness is required. Okay. So since the name is not the same due to the name variations, one method to detect duplication would be the compare other common fields such as address. Subsequent review to determine common customer names at these addresses could then be conducted. You may have some other fields also that can be done. Searching for duplicate account number would not likely find duplication since customers would most likely have different account numbers for each variation. Test data would not be useful to detect the extent of any data characteristics, but simply to determine how the data were processed. Okay. Now moving to the next question, that the decisions and actions of an IS auditor are most likely to affect which of the following risks? Okay, inherent, detection, control, and business. Okay. First, you have to understand which one is the risk into that. Let us see what is the answer and then we'll see the discussion. The answer is the detection. That detection risk is, we are talking about this is the audit risk. This is from the audit risk. We have got 3: inherent, detection, and control risk is there. Okay, that is the audit risk. So decision of auditors, that auditor will not be able to, the decision risks are directly affected by the auditor's selection of audit procedures and techniques. So auditor will not be able to detect, or due to that, this risk is going to be this is part of the audit risk, not that of the risk management that we are talking about. The inherent, current, residual, risk appetite, risk tolerance, and the risk capacity. These 6 concepts are there with the risk. Okay. Inherent risk usually are not affected by the IS auditor. It is the inbuilt into the system. Risks are controlled by the actions of the company's management. That controls are there, but will not be able to control the incident or the event in a timely manner. Okay, so that refers to the effectiveness of that. Okay, business risks are not affected by the IS auditor. That business risks are decision of the senior management or the top management of the board. Coming to the third question, that is, an IS auditor is evaluating management's risk assessment of information system. Okay, the IS auditor should first review the controls already in place, the effectiveness of the controls in place, the mechanism for monitoring the risks related to the assets, the threats, vulnerabilities affecting the assets. Okay. What is that question stem? An IS auditor is evaluating management's risk assessment of information system. Okay. Now we have seen what are the steps there in the risk assessment. Okay. On the basis of that, we can take a decision. Okay. So what is the correct answer is the threat and vulnerability affecting the asset. Remember that this is what we are in risk assessment. 3 processes are there. That's why I have given you this one period out. How it is going to be used, I am just explaining you. What we are doing in risk assessment, this identification, assets, threat, vulnerabilities, existing controls, and consequences. Okay. Now risk analysis, mapping is going to be done. Evaluation, again, we are going to do the benchmarking. Okay. So what has happened? Here, the controls are already in place, means risk treatment. Controls are already in place means the risk treatment. Okay. So it is beyond the risk assessment. The effectiveness of the control is in place beyond the risk treatment. We are doing the review and monitoring. The mechanism for monitoring the risk related to the asset, that is also beyond the risk treatment. We have to go into the risk assessment, 3 sub-processes, that is identification, analysis, and evaluation. So only the option D is coming into that bucket. Okay, that's why I have given you that one-page document is going to help you out to answer all such type of questions. If you are able to map this way, then you are able to get the right answer. Okay. So our answer is this. And I've already told you with that one-page document, one of the key factor to be considered while assessing the risk related to the use of various information system in the threats and vulnerabilities affecting the assets. The other way also, what is risk? Threat coupled with vulnerability is a risk. And remember, risk is always a future component. The moment it materializes, it is going to be accounted for. It is not going to be the risk. Okay. So till the time it is probable, it is going to be a risk. The moment it becomes current, till the time it is in the future bucket, it is a risk. The moment it materializes, it is going to be, it has to be accounted for. Then it is not going to remain risk. Then already accounted for into or debited to the profit and loss account. That has already happened. So one of the key factor to be considered while assessing the risk related to the use of various information system in the threats and vulnerabilities affecting the assets. The risk related to the use of information assets should be evaluated in isolation from the installed controls. Similarly, the effectiveness of the control should be considered during the risk mitigation stage. Okay. And not during the risk assessment phase. A mechanism to continuously monitor the risk related to the assets should be put in place during the risk monitoring function, which is beyond that. Just remember those buckets. Okay. The next question is the output of the risk management process is an input for making. Okay. What it does: business plans, audit charters, security policy decisions, software design decisions. Okay. Let us come to the answer and we'll see that answer is the security policy decisions. What is security policy? We'll see the what is security. You all understand the difference between safety and security. Okay. Whenever there is a threat from internals, we used to call internal controls, that comes under the safety. Okay. And security threat from externals. So this risk, we are having 2 types of control: safety control and security control. Anything which is required to be implemented in the enterprise needs to be part of the policy, because that is the document through which management is going to convey or communicate its intent. Without policy, no implementation is going to take place. So whatever is there, that has to come from the policy. So policy is going to be the apex document. Okay. So the risk management process is about making a specific security related decisions, such as the level of acceptable risk or what control is going to be there, depending upon the type of risk, on which type of which business process it is going to hit. So we are, through that we are able to understand the criticality, and then we are going to take a call for the implementation. But all should come from the policy. If anything is there, not there in the policy, implementation will not take place, because it is not the management direction. Okay. Management direction means governance. Governance means EDM. Okay. For governance, remember 3 things: evaluate, direct, and monitor. What they are evaluating? They are evaluating the stakeholder needs. Okay. And as per the stakeholder needs, they are going to develop the policy. That is the direction or standards. And whatever direction they have given, they are monitoring that one. Okay. So if you will come to in a reverse manner, what is monitored, what is there in the direction, and what is there in the direction, whatever stakeholder needs are. Okay. So that comes in the policy. Next question is that which of the following factor will have the greatest impact on the type of information security governance model that an enterprise adopts? I told you what is governance. Options are the number of employees, the enterprise budget, the organizational structure, the type of technology that the enterprise uses. What is the, read the question stem again. Which of the following factor will have the greatest impact on the type of information security governance? Okay, we are talking about model and enterprise going to adopt. The correct answer is C. What is that C? C is the organizational structure. Okay, so the information security governance model are highly dependent on the overall organizational structure. Okay, the number of employees has less impact on information security governance. Okay. Governance model, because well-defined process provide the proper governance. Organizational budget doesn't have a major impact on the enterprise choice of an information security governance model. Third is the answer. And fourth, the option D, the type of technology that the enterprise uses has less impact on information security governance model, because well-defined process provide the proper governance. Coming to the next question, that is the question number 6. In the risk management process, a cost-benefit analysis is mainly performed. A risk management process, a cost-benefit analysis is mainly performed as part of an initial risk assessment, as part of the risk response planning, during an information asset evaluation, when insurance is calculated for risk transfer. Now, otherwise also, if you refer to the one pager that buckets that document, you can understand what is the answer. The answer is B. There we have seen that the risk treatment plan is going to see the cost benefit analysis. How it is a cost benefit analysis, if you want to understand, let us see this document. Okay, this is what happens in the case of avoidance. In case of avoidance, we are going to see that if the cost of control, the first thing, if there is a scenario that no control is there for that, you cannot implement any control for that. Controllability is not there. Okay. Say, for example, you are at the coastal region and tsunami, there is a threat of tsunami. So you do not have any control for that. But somewhere in Japan, 4 years back, 5 years back, the Japan started raising 9 feet boundary wall on the coastal regions. Okay. Some 200 kilometers. I have heard, I have not seen that one. I have heard that one. Okay, so but that is also not going to, because this sea waves during the tsunami goes beyond that, even up to the 4-story building. But it will reduce up to some resistance will be there up to some level. Okay, few things will not go directly into the sea. That type of but scenario will be there. So risk appetite. One thing is that control is not there. Another thing that return from that business process is less than the cost of the control. Then you are going to leave it. Okay, so cost benefit analysis is happening here. Similarly, for the risk transfer, I told you only impact is transferred. So wherever probability of materializing the risk is very low, but if it is going to materialize, it will be catastrophic. Similarly, for mitigation, if it is compulsion from the government or regulation, laws and regulations, then you have to implement it. Or here, if you have to reduce the risk level from the up to the risk appetite level, then you have to implement the control. Acceptance, when the impact of the risk is going to be less than the cost of the control, then you are going to accept it. But you have to do this analysis on the annual basis. Okay, then you can understand. So cost benefit analysis is going to be here. Okay. So during an risk response option, in risk response, a range of controls will be identified that can mitigate the risk. However, a cost benefit analysis is in the process, will help identify the right controls that will address the risk at acceptable level within the budget. Coming to the next question, which of the following is most important for determining what security measures to put in place for a critical information system? Okay. When I am telling you critical, anything critical, then I have got only one example for that. That which organ is going to be most critical in the human body? Okay, you think at your place. Okay, which if you are an owner of a, first decide whether you are an owner of a human body or tenant of a human body. No, spiritually you are the tenant of the human body. Okay, if you. So when it comes to the criticality, there are different systems are there. So which system is going to be most critical in the human body? So most of the time, 98% time I used to get the answer, nervous system or that brain, something like that. But the most critical system is the respiratory system. Yeah. Reason being, brain is also functioning on the basis of the respiration. You stop the respiration, brain will stop functioning. Okay, that's why there are two scenarios. Those who have opted for the organ donation, I have opted. So you must be aware that only in case of brain death, the organ donation will take place. So when criticality comes, understand like that. The way you used to tell oxygen is most critical. So it comes from the respiratory system. So if any such type of business process or information system which is so critical, like you know the criticality of that respiratory system, 3 minutes. We have seen in this COVID situation what has happened in Agra, in one of the hospital, or the other locations also we have seen that what has happened, that one. Okay, when the paucity of oxygen was there. So if any such systems are there in the business process information system, which is so critical that if you stop it, it will be a fatal to the organization. Okay, it will question the existence of the organization. Criticality, that may be time critical also. The options are the number of the threats to the system, the level of acceptable risk to the enterprise, the number of vulnerabilities in the system, and the existing security budget. Okay, the thumb rule is that how we are going to evaluate the cost of the oxygen. Those who are doing hiking, though, they know that if you go beyond the 5,000 meters or 5,500 meters, there is need for oxygen if you are not used to that. Okay, so there, if somebody is going to ask for more cost for the oxygen, you will not think, because it is a question of existence. So here also it is a question of existence. Okay, so the answer is B. What is that B? The level of acceptable risk to the enterprise. Others are not going to be that much important, but not that much important. Most important is that the determine the level of acceptable risk will allow the enterprise to determine the security measures to put in place. Okay, because if it is impacting the critical system, it will become the fatal to the enterprise. The other options are not going to be relevant to that. I am going to share this. So because I don't think if you are going to read all this explanation, so in this limited time we'll be able to, but that is irrelevant, but you can go through that. I will share this PPT to the Aurangabad branch. Coming to the next question, when transmitting personal information across network, there must be adequate control over. Okay, we are talking about the privacy. Okay, when transmitting personal information across networks, there must be adequate control over encrypting the personal information, obtaining consent to transfer personal information, ensuring the privacy of the personal information, and change management. Okay, if you'll find that apart from change management, rest of the things are going to be relevant. Okay, this is the PII. PII is referring to the privacy. Let us see what is the answer. The answer is C. So it is talking about the privacy protection, not only that encryption, but other dimensions are also there of the privacy. If you are going to take this is going to include other two. Okay, your consent will also come into that, encryption will also come into that. So that's why must be adequate control over the privacy of the personal information. If you are going to take this one, consent will be not there. If you are going to take consent, then encryption will not be there. So that's why C is going to be the answer. The privacy protection is necessary to ensure that the receiving party has the appropriate level of protection of the personal data. Coming to the next question, that system backup and restore procedure can best be classified as technical controls, detective controls, corrective control, and deterrent controls. Say deterrent control is part of the preventive control. Okay, the we have got the preventive, detective, and corrective. These are the three major type of controls. Okay, here they are talking about the system backup. I will tell you the thumb rule. through which you can understand that it goes into which bucket. In case of the partial control, the thumb rule is that it creates a resistance up to the desired level. Okay, if resistance is going to be created up to the desired level, then it is a preventive control. If it is only going to detect, the example of preventive control is your user ID and password is also example of the preventive control. Boundary wall physically is going to be the example of the preventive control. Door, windows, lock are the example of the preventive control. Okay, it's not like that they are not going to be broken. They may be broken. Okay, you are under CCTV surveillance is also a preventive control, because through that, after reading that one, you are going to be change the modification in your behavior that comes under the deterrent control. Trespassers will be prosecuted. That is the example of the deterrent control. Okay, after reading that one, there is a modification in behavior. That is one of the type of the preventive control. Corrective control is going to be activated only after the impact. Okay, so the objective of preventive control is to create a resistance up to the desired level. Objective of detective control is to detect and inform. Objective of corrective control is to reduce the impact. If after impact you are not going to have the corrective control or activate the corrective control, then if that situation is going to remain for a longer period, it will be the massive impact on the enterprise. So that corrective control. So we are talking about the system backup to restore procedures. So according to me, it should come into the corrective control. Okay, The corrective control remediate vulnerabilities if a system suffers harm so extensive that processing cannot continue. Backup restore process enable that system to be recovered. This is a corrective measure that remediate the vulnerabilities of that system. If it is going to remain for a longer period, it will be a much more impact on the enterprise. The next question is that security technologies should be selected primarily on the basis of their evaluation in security publications, compliance with industry standards, ability to mitigate risk to organizational objective, and cost compared to the enterprise IT budgets. Now we are talking about security technology, means we are talking about the controls. Okay, to be selected primarily on the basis of that. What does it mean? We are talking about reducing the risk. Risk reduction takes place on the basis of the mitigation. It is the mitigation is the only risk response option where risk reduction is going to take place. And if you are having the controls, otherwise also in audit, what we are doing, we are evaluating the controls. And wherever control is there, it is a mitigation option. Okay. Wherever control is there, it has come through the mitigation risk response option. So if what is that control? Control is going to reduce the risk. That is the objective of the control. If it is not meeting that objective, it is known as the ineffectiveness of the control. So the most fundamental evaluation criterion for the selection of security technology is its ability to reduce risk. Okay, that happens in the mitigation option. You can refer to the one-page document and you will get the answer. The next question is, which of the following best ensures that information system controls deficiencies are appropriately remediated? Read the question stem again. Which of the following best ensures that information system control deficiencies are appropriately remediated? A risk mitigation plan, risk assessment, control risk evaluation, countermeasure analysis. So if you'll refer to that, we are talking about information system control deficiencies. So already we have crossed this one, the risk assessment. So a risk mitigation plan. Because if these deficiencies are not going to be removed or addressed, then what will happen? Residual risk may cross the risk appetite. That will happen. So the answer is, one risk is identified due to the current IS control deficiencies. A risk mitigation plan will have the set of controls with a detailed plan, including countermeasures that can best help in risk mitigation to an appropriate levels. The next question is, when the risk process is greater than the potential opportunity, the best risk response is. I've already explained that one. Easily you can understand. The options available to us is the transfer, accept, mitigation, and avoidance. Okay, it is a avoidance. When I was discussing the cost benefit analysis, already I have discussed that one. The risk avoidance is the process for systematically avoiding risk, continuing one approach to mitigate risk. That is what will happen wherever the return from that business process or that from that channel is going to be less than the cost of the control, if at all controls are going to be available for the implementation purpose or to mitigate that risk. The next question is the best way to ensure that an information system control is appropriate and effective is to verify. The options are the information security control is appropriate and effective. The options are that the control is operating as designed, that the risk associated with the control is being mitigated, that the control has not been bypassed, the frequency at which the control logs are reviewed. Okay. To already you can outcast that one. Okay, it is something like a double dip, no, 50-50. So let us see the answer. The answer is the B. A control is designed to mitigate or reduce a risk. Okay, if the control is operating correctly, it is not the correct control. If it doesn't address the risk, it was designed to mitigate. So our answer is that the risk associated with the control is being mitigated. That tells the effectiveness of the control. Two important evaluation we are doing when we are auditing that one. One is the effectiveness of the control, another is the efficiency of the control. What is effectiveness of the control? Meeting the objective. What is the objective? That how much risk is going to be reduced, because the very purpose of implementing the control is to reduce the risk. And what is efficiency? The optimum utilization of resources, even the financial resources also, human resources also, time resources also. So if efficiency is talking about the optimum utilization of resources, effectiveness is talking about meeting the objective. And that objective is reduction of the level of risk. Next question is, an application has 7 modules. Out of them, 4th module is changed by following a formal change management process. Which of the following tests should be performed to see that the 4th module maintains integrity with other modules? Okay. In SDLC, you can see that what is there, or in the audit also we are having a different testing. So stress testing, unit testing, functional testing. If you know the different concept clarity, then you can easily answer that one, that what is going to be the answer, because it is related to the other modules. So regression testing is talking about that whenever any change is going to be there into the system, rest of the model is also going to be tested to understand that there is no impact on the other parts. That is known as the regression testing. Okay. After UAT, that regression testing is going to be performed. So regression testing is a type of software testing that seeks to uncover new software bugs or regressions in existing functional and non-functional areas of a system after change, such as enhancement, patchage, or configuration changes have been made to them. Thus, the given scenario is falling under regression testing. The next question is, when developing a backup strategy, the first step is to identify the data, select the storage location, specify the storage media, and define the retention period. This is a direct answer. Anyone can understand that. What is the answer? Answer is going to be A, because what backup is going to be taken is the data. Okay. So archiving data and backup is essential for the continuity of business. Selection of the data to be backed up is the first step in the process. Once the data have been identified, an appropriate retention period, storage media, and location can be selected. Okay. The primary thing is the data which is going to be backup. Labeling also is going to happen on the basis of that. The next question is an audit charter. This anyone can answer. Either of you can answer that one. Should be the audit charter should. The options are be dynamic and change to coincide with the changing nature of the technology and the audit profession. The B option is clearly state audit objective, for and the delegation of authority to the maintenance of review of internal controls. Document the audit procedure designed to achieve the planned audit objective. And the last option is outline the overall authority, scope, and responsibility of the audit function. The audit charter in information system environment and the audit charter in the other environment is not going to be different. So it is going to be the same, and whatever you are aware about the audit charter in your accounting profession, the same thing is here. That's why the answer is going to be D. This is the definition of the audit charter. Outline the overall authority, scope, and responsibility of the audit function. Okay. An audit charter should state management's objective for the delegation of the authority of the two IS auditors. The next question is, an IS auditor finds a small number of user access requests that had not been authorized by managers through the normal predefined workflow steps and escalation rules. The IS auditor should perform an additional analysis, report the problem to the audit committee, conduct a security risk assessment, recommend that the owner of the identity management IDM system fix the flow issue. Okay, so easily you can answer that one. What is happening? It has found a small number of user access requests that had not been authorized by the managers through the normal predefined workflow process. Maybe that is going to be the exception. So that's why answer is going to be the perform an additional analysis, whether it is going to be the exception or it is going to be bypass of the said process, so that we can understand that it is going to be a problem. The IS auditor needs to perform substantive testing and additional analysis to determine why the approval and overflow process are not working as intended. Before making any recommendation, the IS auditor should gain a good understanding of the scope of the problem and what factors caused this incident. I told you that maybe it is going. The IS auditor should identify whether the issue was caused by a problem with the workflow of the automated system or a combination of the two. Now coming to the next question, an IS auditor observes that an enterprise has outsourced software development to a third party, that is a startup company. To ensure that the enterprise's investment in software is protected, which of the following should be recommended by the IS auditor? Options are: due diligence should be performed on the software vendor, a quarterly audit of the vendor facilities should be performed, there should be a source code escrow agreement in place, a high penalty clause should be included in the contract. And the answer is there should be a source code escrow agreement in the place. What was the question? The IS auditor observes that enterprise has outsourced software development to the third party that is a startup company, to ensure that enterprise investment in the software is protected. So if that a startup company is going to wind up the business, that may be one of the scenario. So how this enterprise is going to work? So for that purpose, there is a system of escrow agreement, which is going to provide the source code of the software to the enterprise in case of non-availability of the company, the startup company who has developed the software. Okay. So a source code escrow agreement is primarily recommended to help protect the enterprise's investment in software, because the source code will be available through a trusted third party and can be retrieved if the startup vendor goes out of business. The next question is, an enterprise's risk appetite is best established by the chief legal officer, the security management, the audit committee, the steering committee. Okay. For this, I am giving you the thumb rule that we are talking about the risk appetite. What is risk appetite? If you are aware, I have also told you that it is the acceptable level of risk for the enterprise. Okay. So through this, you can understand that who is going to take this decision. Okay. The answer is going to be the a steering committee. If here it is going to be the board is going to take senior management, then senior management is going to take that one. Okay. So the steering committee is the best suited to determine the enterprise's risk appetite about the committee draws its representation from senior management. I will request the moderator to announce, to put the questions, because I have another 5 minutes to discuss the questions. After that, we'll have the discussion on the queries coming from the participants. So please announce that one. The next question is that when identifying an earlier project completion time, which is to be obtained by paying a premium for early completion, the activities that should be selected are those whose sum of activity time is shortest, that have zero slack time, that give the longest possible completion time, and whose sum of slack time is the shortest. Okay, the question is from the part. So the answer is the B, that have the zero slack time. The question is telling that paying a premium for early completion, the activities that should be selected are going to be completed with the shortest possible time. Attention should be focused on the task within the critical path that have no slack time. The next question is, an IS auditor is assigned to audit a software development project which is more than 80% complete, but has already overrun time by 10% and cost by 25%. Which of the following actions should the IS auditor take? The options are: report that the organization doesn't have effective project management, recommend the project managers be changed, review the IT governance structure, and review the conduct of the project and the business case. Now, what is the basis of any project? If you understand that one, you can understand the answer. The very basis of any project is the business case, because business case is going to be developed as per the stakeholder needs. So that is required to be fulfilled. If there is a change of stakeholder needs, that the project may creep. So review the conduct of the project and the business case before making any recommendations. An IS auditor needs to understand the project and the factors that have contributed to bringing the project over budget and over schedule. Then they can recommend that one. The next question is, a programmer maliciously modified a production program to change data and then restore the original code. Which of the following would most effectively detect the malicious activity? Okay. The options are: comparing source code, reviewing system log files, comparing object code, reviewing executable and source code integrity. What has happened? The unauthorized changes has taken, and again the original code has been restored. So right now, if you are going to compare all these things, then you will find that already this comparing the source code, comparing the object code, the reviewing executable and source code integrity, that happens through that only. Reviewing the comparing the source, creating an object code and comparing with that. So that you will not get the reply. You will get everything is right. But if you will review the system log files, then you can understand that what has happened in the past during that scope period, and you will find that this is going to tell the reviewing the system log files. Reviewing system log file is the only trail that may provide information about the unauthorized activities in the production library. Next question is, which of the following would best ensure continuity of a wide area network across the organization? The options are: built-in alternative routing, complete full system backup daily, a repair contract with a service provider, a duplicate machine along each server. If you'll see, the question is about the wide area network. So others, you will find that is having no relevance other than the option A. Okay. That is the WAN is for the routing purpose. The built-in alternative routing is talking about that that is the option. Rest are going to be the irrelevant, the system backup, the contract or the duplicate machine along each server, because that is not going to be relevant to the WAN. Alternative routing would ensure that the network would continue if a communication device fails or if a link is served, because so here alternative routing is going to help you for continuing the transmission of the data. I am holding here. If questions has come, you will start discussing the questions. That will be the better way of discussing.
All right. Thank you, Omkarnath sir. There are around a couple of questions there. Wow, a few of the participants has asked the same question. When is the last attempt for CA old ESA course?
I think they defined 4 attempts. So this time it should be the last, I think. Yeah, but you can get this confirmation from the DAB. If anybody is from DAB is here, let me see. No, only technical people are.
Okay.
Kedar, you are the same person I have met?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Continue.
Yeah. Sir, there is one question which I quite find relevant. Many times we find that the options are all same. Then in that case, how we can go ahead with it? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Say, I have given few clues for that. Say, if concept clarity is there, say the risk management one-page document I have given. So you'll find that options are, why options are going to be confusing, because you are not able to understand the concepts. So again, I will go to that page and I will again tell you that if you are able to understand, if you are able to understand, say, this risk assessment process. So what activity is happening in which bucket, if you are able to understand, then easily you will be able to answer that one. That is the first thing. Similarly, I have given you the thumb rule for the preventive, detective and corrective control. That might be covered by the Dr. Binay Saini also. Okay, because that is part of the model 4 and others. Okay, so that will happen. But concept clarity is one of the important requirement. If that is not there, that's why I have told in the beginning that refer to the manual first. Before going for the selective, say one practice is there that in the CA exam, mostly the sample solved questions are there. So that is not happening here in the IT environment. IT environment, every scenario is in the enterprises also, same server, but different configuration, different policy. So that's why you need to understand the concept. You understand the concept, you are well versed with that. Okay, you'll be able to answer that one. And most important thing, read the questions carefully. Say, if you'll see the many places I have explained that one, that here, if you are able to read spend the time here on the question stem, then you are able to eliminate at least 2. We are able to eliminate. Only 3rd is left. Then at last you can do, if you are not at all able to get it, you can do the toss, because it is 60% only. Okay, but concept clarity is the key for that. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So, okay, there are a few questions. Again, it is same thing, which is the syllabus applicable for DISA 18 December 22. 2-3 people have asked this question. I believe both the syllabus will be there as answered by you, sir.
No, December 22 2.0 is there. This is the exam. I think this is the last exam, but you can confirm it from the DAB, because when we launch this one is a 3.0, that time it was the concept that only 4 attempts will be given for 2.0, because some point of time you have to discontinue this one.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. everyone, you might have got the introduction of Onkar Nath sir. Let me again say, and it's my privilege to get in touch with Onkar Nath sir. I'm a big fan. I have cleared my DISA under his guidance only.
Congrats. Maybe late, but congrats.
No, thank you, sir. We, on behalf of
Kedar, just a minute. I have got another 2 minutes time of my time slot. So let me complete another two questions. After that, you do that one. Okay. So the last two questions I'm having for this session is that the question is an IS auditor is reviewing the physical security controls of a data center and notices several areas for concern. Which of the following area is the most important? The emergency power off button cover is missing. Scheduled maintenance of the fire suppression system was not performed. There are no security cameras inside the data center, and the emergency existing door is blocked. Now, when we are talking about the physical security control, the most important, the asset in the data center environment is not the system, data, software, applications, air conditioner, network. It is the human being. So, which option is going to question the human life or threat to the human life? That is going to the option. Easily you can tell the option is D, because evacuation is the way through we are going to save the human life if any such type of emergencies are there. So life safety is always the highest priority. Therefore, the blocking of the emergency exit is the most serious problem. The last question is, which of the following choice best helps information owners to properly classify data? And this is about the classification of data. Understanding the options are understanding the technical controls that protect data, training on organization policies and standards, use data leak DLP tool, understanding which people need to access the data, roles and responsibility. But you know, we are talking about the classification. So classification for any such type of implementation, classification is also a control. What is required? That is going to be the answer. The answer is the policies. Okay. So if you understand the concept this way, that's why the option B is training on organization policies and standards. While implementing data classification, it is most essential that the organization policies and standards, procedures, including the data classification schema, are understood by the owner or custodian of the data, so that they can be properly classified. If they are not going to be properly classified, then appropriate control implementation will not take place, and that will impact the enterprise. Hand over to you.
Yes, thank you, sir. All the participants, thank you for your patience hearing to Dr. Onkar Nath sir. Big fan, sir. Thank you for taking out your time on behalf of DAP and Aurangabad branch of WRC of ICI. We thank Dr. Onkar Nath sir for taking time from his busy schedule and guiding us on how to crack ESA. I hope all the participants will be benefited from this session. Now we're going to continue with the next one.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Vinay Saini sir has already joined us. Yes, Vinay Saini sir, it's my privilege to introduce you to the participants. Vinay Kumar Saini sir has more than 18 years of experience in software development, information security, training, research, and consultancy. He holds BTech in computer science and engineering and MTech in information technology. And sir is also PhD in computer science and engineering blockchain. That's a emerging area. He has qualified CISA exam and is Wipro and Infosys certified faculty. He has published many research papers in journals, proceedings of international and national conferences. He has delivered many guest lectures on various topics like information technology, risk management, IT security, and ESA auditing related concepts. And in leading institutions like CA, Sri Lanka, IEI, ICAI, RDIAS, TIPS, and many more across India and abroad. Sir, we are fortunate to have you here. Yes, Dr. Onkanath sir, you are saying something.
Hello, sir.
Good evening, sir. Onkar sir, कैसे हैं? How are you?
Good evening. Fine. We are meeting
So many times. Thanks to
we are
ICI.
we are meeting face to face without moving place to place.
Right. That's great. That's great.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye.
Yes.
Thank you, Kedar. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your introduction.
Please take the
And
chance, sir.
yeah, I think it's a great responsibility. Means showing like the faith shown by ICI, and then now continuing the session after Onkar sir. It's a challenge, right? But good evening to all of you, and welcome to revision session, right? So let me tell you, it's not a hard nut to crack. First of all, belief is the most important thing. You need to have a belief on yourself that yes, it can be done, right? And then a bit of systematic planning, right? So I'm going to give you simple insights on how you can plan and crack this nut, right? So continuing with what Onkar Nath sir has said, that you have to have fundamental clarity of the concepts, and you have already practiced so many questions along with him. Now I'm going to take this thing a step further, and I'm going to give you the mantra with which you can really crack it, right? So just believe you can crack it, and it's almost done, right? So now I'll take you to the thing by which you can have 100% assurance, right? But who will provide the assurance? You yourself. I'm not going to give you assurance, right? But I'm going to show you the path. You look at that path, and if you understand that path, you will have yourself the assurance that you can clear this exam like that. Okay, so not wasting further time, right? And I have a huge responsibility given by Nanda sir, and started with Onkar Nath sir, and now I have to pitch in. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you something that will really illuminate your eyes, okay, and will show you that yes, it's doable. It's not a big thing, right? It's not something like a kind of a Mount Everest kind of a thing. No, not at all. It's very easy. Factors critical for clearing DISA exam. Okay. So I'm going to take a different strategy. The reason being because you already have practiced questions. So I'm going to show you something which is fundamentally critical for clearing the exam. So study material, you have to go through to build the technical knowledge. Okay. So if you don't have the technical knowledge, you don't have the module knowledge, you cannot answer the question. Simple as that. So this is the first thing, technical knowledge. Second, you must have some technique to attempt the question. There is a question in front of you, and as I can see, many of you are asking the question, when is the last attempt? That means that you already have experienced it, and you have given some attempts, and you feel that this is a kind of a challenging task. So, but I must ask you, do you have any technique when you are attempting the question? Most of you would say, no, we just read the question and try to attempt the answer. So technique is missing. So that technique must be there. I'll talk about that technique quickly. So first is technical knowledge, second is technique, third is clear understanding of English terms. Many times, because we know India is such a diverse country, right? And it has so many different languages, so many different cultures. So, but to be valuable, we have a challenge that we have to take English as our weapon to really present ourselves to the world, right? So we need to embrace English. Reason that if we want to be global leader, we have to have that weapon in our hand. But having said that, we cannot really deny that we have our native languages, we have our cultures, we cannot really go away with that. But English is like our weapon. So we have to be a smart warrior where English is our very powerful weapon. So if you have confusions in terms like responsibility, accountability, integrity, and many more terms are there which looks like similar. So if there is confusion among these terms, this is going to be a big challenge for you. Many times people have good technical knowledge, but they still feel that the exam is very tough. The reason is understanding of English. So that weapon has to be sharpened. So you have to really strengthen yourself in terms of clarity of English terms, because the exam is in English. So we have to prepare accordingly. And the last segment is action plan, because these are 3 prerequisites. Once you have worked on 3 things, next you are ready for the battle. And what you need is, you need an action plan. If you don't have an action plan, you are in a big risk, right? So what you need is 2 strategies. One, before exam, like if you have a week for before exam, then I think you can do wonders, right? You can prepare and you can revise things, you can practice a lot. And on exam day, you need to have a different strategy, okay? Preparation is different, but when you are in an exam, it's like a battlefield, right? You just have to perform, that's it. So before exam, what you have to do is you have to practice 3 mock tests. So means you have to practice as if you have already experienced 3 battles, right? So you need to pick a sample 80 paper. Those are available from ICAI portal. You can pick and you can explore and you will get a sample paper. Sit for 4 hours, right? Sit for 4 hours. Try to give exam 3 times before the actual exam, so that your brain is ready. You are mentally ready. You're mentally strong, right? So that you don't feel any anxiety and loss of confidence. Then try to plan the exam in a proper way. Don't think it is a 4-hour exam. Think there are 4 exams of 1 hour each, that way. So that way it would look like, okay, these are small activities that I have to do. And in between, you can have a bit of break, like 1 minute, 2 minutes, right? So that way your brain would not get exhausted and you will be refreshed and you'll be, means strong enough to continue with the next session of the questions. So follow the technique, which I'll discuss later. And then every lap has 58 minutes and 2 minutes of break. So this is how you relax your brain. Your brain is very strong, but over a period of time, it needs break and a quick relaxation. As Nandaji mentioned, that machines doesn't need any breaks. They don't have wives. They don't really need any breaks, kind of a thing. But that's machine, that's AI, right? But we are not machines. We have to clear the exam. So what we need is we need to plan accordingly, right? So 58 minutes of workout, like handle the questions, fight out, and then take 2 minutes break. As Onkar Nath sir mentioned, take energy rich chocolates with you, right? And drink water and do a bit of meditation. As he mentioned, close your eyes, take a deep breath. You will be ready. Your brain would be ready for the next lap, right? So that's the thing. Avoid doing mock test 1 day before the exam. So 1 day before the exam, my mind should be relaxed. So, but if you take 3 practice exams before the exam, you are going to be the warrior, right? So the next thing is, on exam day, what you have to do is you have to only focus on the exam. No other tension. Plan exam as set of 4 laps. Technique. Follow the technique for every question. I'll tell you the technique. And then in every lap of 58 minutes, try to attempt 50 questions. And then take 2 minute break, eat chocolate, and take 1 minute for meditation, right? Close your eyes, and then you are ready for the next lap. So this is how you have to do. These are the 3 prerequisites: study material, technical knowledge, technique, and clear understanding of English terms. If these 3 things are there, you're ready for the action plan, okay? Now coming to the target. The target is that you have a scheme to follow, right? So you have 7 modules, and I hope you can see this slide running across. So first module is primer on IT, 20%, then 13%. These are the 7 modules with the distribution on how you are going to get the questions in DISA 2.0 scheme, okay? So after that comes a bit elaboration. In module 1, you will get like all the basic concepts of IT, like information system concepts, hardware, software, hardware. Then you have all those things: input, output devices, and processing devices, and memory devices. So you may get questions out of that, right? Output devices, processing devices like microprocessor, right? And then you have memory devices. So you may get questions out of that, like RAM, ROM, register, so on, right? And in software category, you have system software and application software. System software is your operating system. Application software is all these apps that you use for your business operations, like MS Office, web browser, Tally, ERP, SAP, SAS, software as a service on cloud platform. Then you have DBMS, like database management system, which is again a backend. So every information system has various components. So one is hardware, software, then DBMS, which is basically the backend. If you see, like your user interact on front end websites, and in the backend you have web server and your database. And database stores data in the structured format, right? And structured format, especially the DBMS, RDBMS, they have a special property that integrity constraints, right? Integrity constraints that ensures the property correctness of your data. And there are 3 integrity constraints, like domain integrity, then you have entity integrity, and then you have referential integrity. Domain talks about individual column properties, like which column has what values, some rules like limit and all those things. Entity integrity talks about primary key, that is unique identification of rows, right? Primary key. And then comes your referential integrity that talks about connecting 2 or more tables, right? If your data is distributed across various tables, then you have referential integrity, and you connect those 2 tables with the concept of foreign key, primary key and foreign key, right? So these are some of the basic concepts which are there, which would be part of your questionnaires. And then you questions. And then you have SQL, a standard language, which can be used to talk to the database. DDL, DML, DCL, these are 3 different categories of SQL where you have different commands and operations: create, alter, drop, insert, update, delete, select for analysis. And DCL is grant, revoke, commit, and rollback. These are admin level commands where you can ensure the security and access to the database. So DBMS is database plus management system. There are so many products out there in the market: Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL. So basically they take care of storing your data. So there are 3 components. In every organization, you'll have hardware, software, and some database where the data is stored. Then comes network, where computers are getting connected. So they get connected so that you can have more and more response, more and more productivity. Okay. So when we talk about a computer network, you have 2 further components: hardware, software. Hardware, you have hub, switch, bridge, router, gateway, and in you need to connect the hardware also. So you can have twisted pair, coaxial cable, and fiber optic cables to connect the hardware, and the other way is wireless, right? So you can have wireless connections also, where you can have Bluetooth and what do you call, Wi-Fi, right? These kind of things. So this is about hardware, how you connect the devices. But then devices doesn't communicate straight away. You need some software instructions for that. So there comes network protocols. And the protocols are softwares, which are rules how devices will communicate. And there are 2 models for that: OSI and TCP/IP model. So OSI is a standard model by ISO, that is International Organization for Standardization. So they have given this OSI model so that every computer across the world, doesn't matter who the manufacturer is, should be able to communicate with each other. That's why standardization is there, so that everywhere you have uniformity. So the device will communicate in 7-step process. So these are the 7-step process. Application layer handles user interface. Presentation layer handles encoding, decoding. Session layer handles ID management, session ID, unique communication, so that there is no overlapping of data. Then transport layer, packaging and unpackaging of data. Network layer talks about addressing and routing, like which IP address, as mentioned by Onkar Nath sir, like IP addressing is one of the most technical topic, where you need to understand what are the classes, what are the IP address distribution. But that's important because of addressing and how the packet will reach to you, how the data will reach to you, which location you want to send the data, source and IP address. So that is handled by network layer. Then data link layer talks about flow control, error control, because you never know whether the receiver is receiving at the same pace as you are sending. So to maintain flow control, synchronization, and if there is any error, like a packet has been lost. So that needs to be identified, and a request for retransmission has to be requested. So that all things are handled by data link layer. And finally, we have the physical layer where you actually send the data in the form of 0 1s on the channel. The channel could be your wired channel, that is this twisted pair coaxial cable, or wireless channel. In both ways, the data would be transferred. Now, this is about the standard protocol. Sorry for interruption. Power failure, we call it as what? Crisis, incident, or disaster. But hopefully it's not a disaster, right? It was an incident, and quickly we were able to resolve this incident. Sorry for the interruption, right? But you must have incident response plan, right? So just imagine how quickly I responded back, okay? So that's how auditors should think and how they should plan. I hope you can listen to me. I'm reachable to you. So I'll share quickly the screen again. Okay, so a quick acknowledgement. Am I audible? May I have acknowledgement? Okay, right. Okay, so I was just talking about this thing. Okay, so this was TCP/IP model, which is basically the implementation model of standard model OSI. Okay, and you can see the application layer. I mentioned this is OSI says that's what should be done, and practically what happens is TCP/IP, right? So what we have is these are the softwares which are used to implement user interface, encoding, and session management. So these three operations are handled by one layer in practical sense. Okay, so encoding, session management, all is handled by application layer. Then comes transport layer, network layer, and then the physical layer where these two operations are handled, right? What do you call it? Flow control, error control, and physical movement of data. And we have protocols like Ethernet, GSM, CDMA, or maybe there's another ATM switches are there, ATM mode, which works on physical link layer. So after that, there is another component. After your hardware, software, network, you have security mechanism, right? In security mechanism, you have firewall, antivirus, cryptography. These are there to ensure the security. Firewall is a, what do you call, preventive control. Antivirus is a detective control because it detects the virus, right? So preventive controls prevents what? Unusual or unwanted traffic to enter your network. And firewall is not only one direction, it is two directional. So it filters the things which are entering to your network, also what are going out of your network. So both ways, so there are two, what do you call, inward and outward filtering. Right, so inward and outward filtering. So there are two different kind of rules which are handled by the firewall. There are different types of firewalls which handle that. Then antivirus basically is a detective control which detects whether the virus is there or not. And if it is there, then it basically handles it. Stop it from executing, deleting it, all those are the secondary steps, but kind of corrective measures, but what do you say? Primarily, it is a detective. It detects there is a virus. Then it handles the things accordingly. Then you have cryptography for what do you call? I would not write A here because A is handled differently. If you talk about cryptography, it handles confidentiality and integrity. So that kind of clarity is important. I told you technical knowledge, English terms, and then what do you call? Practice, technique. I'll quickly talk about the technique after I quickly finish this thing. Availability is handled by something else. For availability, you have firewalls, you have what a CAPTCHA code, and authentication practices. So many things are there, right? So that nobody should be able to disrupt the network. Confidentiality and integrity both are handled by cryptography. Nobody should be able to change the data. Nobody should be able to read the data in between, right? Only authorized user, sender and receiver should have the understanding of the data, right? That's what cryptography does. So it provides you confidentiality and integrity. And there are three techniques of cryptography: symmetric, where the same key is at sender and receiver end; asymmetric, different keys, primary key, public key. Hashing is used for what you call integrity, hash code, which is irreversible, cryptography or irreversible encryption. And then you have application of PKI. We also call it as PKI, asymmetric encryption. It has two uses. So rather than writing it here, I would write it here. So PKI has two PKI, that is public key infrastructure. We call it as asymmetric cryptography also. It has two applications. One is key transfer. And second is digital signature. In both the cases, use of the key is different, right? Here you will use receiver key for sending the symmetric key. Receiver's public key for encryption. Here you will use sender's private key. So this is how they are used. Hashing is only one way, so it will convert the message into a digest, a code, which cannot be used to convert the data back. So, but it is used to ensure integrity, so that we can check whether the right data has been received or not. After security measure comes your people and process. So these are the rest of the two components, right? People and then process. For people, you can have access controls and all. Responsibilities, roles and responsibilities can be defined. For processes, you can have what you call SOPs. These are the kind of controls you can have it in these things. And here you can have a user management, what you call controls, right? So this is how you handle information system, right? So these are the components. No matter which kind of audit you are doing, whether it is data assurance, migration, cloud audit, what do you call security audit, whatever. These component has to be assessed, evaluated, and all those things. Okay, beside this, there are various other things like IT asset management. Then you have emerging technologies, right? These are the topics that you have to study in this module. Here you have what you call cloud computing, right? And then you have business intelligence, data analytics. Then you have, oh yeah, there are terms like data warehouse. Okay, data warehouse, data mining, these are the terms, right? Then cloud computing. So you need to study all these things, right? So this is your first module. Quickly talk about module 2. This covers your topics like what do you call auditing standards, right? Then you have what you call, please ignore spelling mistakes, please, you can understand the limitation of the time. Okay, so auditing standards are there. Then what you have is what you call types of controls, preventive, detective. So you may have questions around that, right? Preventive, detective, and corrective, right? There's another term which may be there in exam. Definitely, most of the time it is asked, compensating control. So it is compensating control. So be aware of it. So normally compensating control comes into picture if primary control is missing. Let's say you have access control, biometric devices installed, and it is not working. that doesn't mean employees will go back home, right? So what you need is you need to set up a security guard and who will take signatures and what you call manual attendance, and will allow people to go and do their job. So that's what comes in this compensating control. Besides this, there can be administrative controls. Yeah. So you must be aware of all these things, terminologies, administrative controls. Then there can be classification, IT control, IT general control, and so on. Besides this, there is what you call, risk-based strategy. So there are terms, risk-based strategy for audit that says that you should do risk assessment after understanding. Yeah, of course, after understanding after understanding the environment and situations, right? A risk assessment. After risk assessment, what you do is you prioritize, or you get the priority of the risk, and then you test the controls. Your audit plan is there, right? So you basically go in 3 phases, right? So basically risk-based strategy can be followed, but your audit process would be like your planning, execution, and reporting. Plan, execute, report, right? And when you're planning, you will do risk assessment, and when you're executing, you will do testing of controls, and when you're reporting, you have to prepare audit report. Simple as that. And take care of audit materiality, right? Audit materiality. And the most important aspect, audit risk. You have to make sure audit risk is under control. How you can minimize audit risk? There are so many factors: peer reviews, following standards. You can have better sampling. So sampling is again a very important part, which can help you in so where you can put audit sampling here, right? But here, in your testing controls, there are 2 things: compliance testing, and then you have substantive testing, right? So this is how it goes. So there are terminologies which you should be aware of it. And if let's say it's a big population, so you can use sampling. Compliance talks about the testing of controls, right? Controls testing. And substantive testing means checking the details like transactions, records, which gives you more evidence about whether your compliance testing is correct or not, or perhaps it gives you evidence to support your observations, right? Like details, examining details, data. Okay, sampling can help you in quickly completing your task. Besides this, I think most of the things are covered. What else can be covered here? Yeah, materiality risk and everything is there. Great. So audit charter and other terminologies are there, right? You must have internal audit function charter. Okay, but when you come to module 3, there are important things, right? Governance, risk, and compliance. There are 3 important things: governance, risk, and compliance. And these are the 3 primary, objectives every organization face. These are the 3 most prominent challenges that every organization face. And as an auditor, it's your job to deliver assurance whether an organization has good practices to address governance, risk, and compliances, right? And so there can be a lot of operations around it. Like you can have practices following best practices like COBIT and other frameworks also, and ISOs and all. There are so many things, but COBIT gives you a comprehensive strategy. But beside that, there are important terms to understand, like enterprise governance, corporate governance, business governance. But I will put it in simple words, in governance only. And the idea is EDM: evaluate, direct, and monitor. So this is the job of governance operations, whether it is enterprise governance, business governance, corporate governance. You can see the category, the names are different. That's why the reason why there are different names, because the objectives are different. Enterprise governance talks about whole enterprise. corporate governance talks about stakeholders, compliances, all those things. Business governance basically talks about profit maximization and business objectives. So in a way, we can divide the whole enterprise governance into two categories, a balance between corporate and business governance. So, right. But considering the IT environment, this business and enterprise, enterprise, let me put it, enterprise governance, right? Enterprise governance can be further taken up. Please ignore spelling mistakes. Your corporate. Okay, then you have business governance, right? And eventually these all has to be integrated into GEIT, because IT is having all the control. So IT is running all the operation, whether governance, management, operations, transactions. So we need to have a framework which can address GEIT. So means a framework which can give us principles, activities, objectives, how to do the enterprise governance. And we have to achieve corporate and business both. And we have to maintain the balance, how to do it. So for doing all these things, there are various best practices, frameworks available, and the most popular across the globe is COBIT 5 and COBIT 2019. COBIT 5 was part of your 2 syllabus. And if you talk about 3 syllabus, DISA 3, we have COBIT 2019, the latest edition. It's a small edition when we talk about these two, COBIT 5 and 19. Okay, so the idea is here we had 37 processes, and 5 were at governance, and 32 at management, right? And if we talk about the 2019 part, you have differentiation, a bit of variety, addition, value addition. We have 40 here, we have 5 here, and we have 55 here, right? So this is the only thing, governance and management. Risk compliance, these are the two things. For risk, you must have risk management, and it basically involves risk assessment and risk addressal, or you can say risk, what do you say? You can say risk mitigation. And you know that there are 4 strategies. I think Atma, yes, Onkar Nath sir mentioned Atma, accept, avoid, transfer, mitigate, all those things, right? Compliance, for compliance, we have processes in COBIT 5. You have to make sure what are the all compliance requirements for any organization's business operations. And accordingly, you can check and review whether all practices are in place or not. Okay, so this is about module 3. Then comes module 4, perhaps the most important one. Here, there are important concepts like information assets. What are they? And classification of information assets, right? So classification is very important. Why? Because we cannot provide the same level of security to all the assets, right? So classification is important. We need to identify which needs high, which need medium, and which need low. High, medium, low security requirements. Because we don't have unlimited budgets, right? So for high means what comes in high? Any guesses? I think you all would be saying data centers, right? And in medium comes your what you call operational processes, right? Processes and like your customer interaction or reception area, right? Reception or customer dealing area, that needs low security requirements. But that doesn't mean no security requirements. Low means low. That doesn't mean no. Okay. So, for example, there's a website where you are providing interface to the customers. So, customers should not be able to change the data of your website, right? So, low means low, but that doesn't mean no. Okay. So, you need different kind of security requirements at different levels. And beside that, the security can be configured at various things like various, what do you say, perspectives. There are different perspectives, like physical security, then you have environmental security. I hope you would be able to recall the whole syllabi now, right? Then you have logical access controls, then you have network security control. So these are the primary segments, right, where you need to apply security. So you have physical controls like perimeter fencing, biometric locks, and all these are all physical, where you are stopping physical attack, right? And logical is your username, password, authentication. So if you talk about logical access control, so here you comes, there are important terms like what do you call identification, and authentication, and then authorization. And then authorization, right? So these are the primary things when it comes to logical access, right? And they are also applicable to, and you must know the difference, right? Many times people have confusion, authentication and authorization, right? I'm stuck up. I'm thinking so fast that I'm not able to recall the spelling, right? Because thoughts are running in my brain. Authorization. Okay, so identification is about identifying the user, like user ID, cards, smart cards, badges, ID cards. Here you can have, so it is to identify, here to verify, and here to what? Give privilege, assign privilege, rights, whether you are allowed to do this or not. Right? Again, no spelling mistakes, right? I'm quite bad at it since I have stopped writing, right? Okay, I don't know what exactly it is. Okay, so identify, you can have so many things. Verify, again, you can have 1 factor, 2 factor, 3 factor, right? And what is this 1 factor, 2 factor? 1 factor is, there are 3 factors, like something user knows. Okay, user has, first each, okay, has, and then user is. So user is basically your biometric, right? Your physical properties. And here has its physical possession, your mobile, where you get the OTP for OTP, right? Or your ATM, you have it, right? ATM card or smart card. User knows is your password, PIN number. You may get question around that, right? 8. So authorization is to give privileges, like who can read data, who can write data, and all those complex privileges based on the role. Like the manager would have a different role to play than executive, right? In a bank. So network security comes with, I think I already mentioned about network security. These are the things, firewall, antivirus, cryptography. So you can put all these things in network security. Beside that, I would like to mention one thing very important, segmentation of network, right? That means you cannot have a centralized single one network. Let's say there are 8 departments, so there should be 8 different segments, because every department has a different level of security requirement. We talked about classification. You cannot provide the same security everywhere. So for every department, you need to have a different level of security investment. So that's why segmentation of the network. Don't have a single network, so that you don't have no single point of failure, right? Single point of failure. Question would be around all these terms, right? So it's not that complicated. The only thing is you need to be focused, planned, and systematic. Okay, after all these things, you need to understand the security standards which can refer for all these practices. I think ISOs are the leaders because of the globalization and the standardization. ISOs are the like especially security. If you talk about ISO 20000 series, and if you talk about certification, 27001. If for implementation, it is 27000. So yeah, that way implementation. You will get implementation guide here. ATION, right? And here it is for certification. There are many more under this 27000 series. You will get a lot more inputs. Okay, anyway, so this was module 4. Module 5, quickly let's move on to After that, we have to talk about the technique, much awaited. I think you all are waiting for this technique, right? Don't worry, I'll come to it quickly. I know my time barriers. Okay, that's the key, right? Measure and plan. That's it. So income system development, it's a process where you need to be as an auditor, you are supposed to be a part of the development process. And there can be 3 possibilities: in-house development and outsource development. Right? And finally is what? Any guess? I think you are thinking the right thing. It is acquisition, right? Acquisition. So ACQ, I guess, I'm not sure. Okay. The point is, in all these 3 scenarios, as an auditor, your role would be different. In-house means you have to take care of the whole SDLC. The whole process would be followed, implemented within house. And what happens here? Feasibility. What else after feasibility? Benefit realization and a business case, right? Benefit. All these are the terms which will be there in the exam. Realization. That in English, right? And this will lead to your business case. If you have done it really well and feasibility says yes, it will lead to business case. Now, what is a business case? It's like win-win situation, right? That's what business case is. Once a business case is there, next thing that you do is requirement analysis. And that also include requirement engineering, where you will quickly identify all the requirements, and after that you will finalize the requirement after doing requirement engineering. And this will create a final output, and output would be what? Any guesses? I think you are thinking right. SRS, software requirement specification, SRS document, right? And once SRS is done, you have next thing, design document. And design documents are there: input design, output design, your GUI, UI, you call it a user interface design, database DB design, right? ER diagrams. So, and then physical design, logical design, physical, logical has been done already. That is your input, output and all. So clarity is a must. So in design, you do all these design, and we call it as a software design document, SDD. Okay. Once design is done, next is your that is programming, coding, right? Coding. And in coding, you basically develop the software programming practices, standard programming practices and languages, like appropriate language has to be selected. And these are all tasks of auditor. Auditor has to make sure that the benefit feasibility study has been done. Feasibility has various other factors: economical, behavioral, operational, technical. All feasibilities should be there. Social and compliance feasibility. All those things should be done. In coding, the right language should be used. All programmers should follow programming conventions. Benefit realization should be done. Also, the role of auditor is to review the output and quality of all these phases. Once coding is done, then comes your testing. In testing, you have various things like unit testing. Then you have system testing. Okay. Then you have, in between there are 2 more things. Integration testing. Okay. And then system testing. And once testing is, of course, in unit testing, you have structural testing and functional testing. Functional, which is also called black box, and then structural, which is also called white box. These are things. In integration, top down, bottom up. Testing, both are important, both are required. so that you cover the whole system from different perspectives and test it whether it is working fine. System testing, when it comes to this unit testing, there are these things, but beside this, there are two other factors: performance and load. And performance testing and load testing. Right, and these testings are again here, but when it comes to system testing, the operations and perhaps the perspective changes, because we are taking the whole system now. So instead of our what you call functional structure, yes, they would be there. Performance load would be there, but we have already done functional and structural. So they are not required here because individually modules are working fine, and integration has also been tested. So what we are left here is new two things are there. One is security testing, because we have to ensure complete system security. That's why security testing comes here. And then second one is recovery. If system goes down, so whether we'll be able to recover it or not. Recovery testing. So these comes into picture here. All right, so this is how testing goes. Once this testing is done, right, after this testings, I think development team, the whole development team, along under the guidance of system analyst and with support of system manager or the manager who's helping, we are ready to basically deliver the software. But before that, user has to test it, right? UAT comes into picture. User acceptance testing that happens in alpha mode and beta mode, alpha testing and beta testing. It depends on the scenario, which one is more suitable. Alpha is when you're bringing the users, the testers or user representatives in the development environment. So you are calling users, right? In development environment. And beta is sending software, beta version, software to users, beta version, right? To test and give feedback. So beta testing is that. So both way, it depends which suits you more. Once this is done and user accepts it, then we are ready for what? The next phase, that is implementation. And in implementation, there are strategies like direct, how do you call, parallel, phased, what do you call, pilot, right? So out of these, one strategy that suits the scenario. It's not that you can pick it randomly. It totally depends on the requirements situation. You have to select the right strategy of implementation, right? And that has to be taken care of for implementation. Okay, so this is about your implementation. And once this is just about strategy. After that, implementation has further important areas. Let me just quickly give you that, because a lot of questions are asked on that also, like preparing site. Site has to be prepared before implementing the system. Then install hardware and software. And once you have installed the hardware and software, after preparing site, data migration, that is very important. Migration done, system is done, then you have to user training. You have to train users. Many times the reason of failure of the system is lack of user training, and implementation fails. So these are some of the factors that you have to take into consideration when you are basically implementing the system. Once implementation is done, system is in operation, and you may have to invoke maintenance in case it is required. Maintenance. And maintenance can be again further types like what do you call, corrective, then what do you call, adaptive, Then what do you call? There is preventive also, preventive, and then perfective. So these are some strategies you may get. You refer the literature, you will get a lot of clarity that these are the different maintenance strategies that can be taken up. And let's say there is a change required and you need to change the system, right? But you are doing maintenance and a change was required to fix the system. So what you need to do is you need to invoke a process called change management, right? So that may be required. Change management. So that basically is a systematic process, it has to be raised, right? Raise request for change, REQ for change. Somebody has to raise a required, right? And after that, there's a process like you have to analyze whether the change is significant or not, right? A team, change control authority, change control committee will take this request and will analyze whether it is required or not. And after their analysis, if it is required, they will ask for development. A new module or program has to be developed, which will incorporate the change. During the development, after the development coding, it needs to be tested, right? So testing here would be a different one. Here we call it as regression testing. That means the testing regression, okay? Testing for changes. So regression is like testing for changes. So here you will use some previous data, test data to see whether what change you are thinking has really fixed the problem or not. And you must make sure one thing, that your new change should not alter or disturb the whole existing system, right? So that's the agenda. Regression testing focus on evaluating the change should not disturb the existing system and requirement should be met. Once it is done, you implement the change, right? Things go on. Besides this, maintenance practices also focus on configuration management, right? And that is not only here required. In IT asset management also, configuration management is important. That you must be aware of what are the required hardware and software settings and what are the required hardware configurations to run your system effectively, right? So that's come into configuration management. And this is about your SDLC process when you are doing in-house development, right? So auditor has to check all these things. So if it is in-house development, you will see that there is a big audit team, right? In-house audit team, which will take care of testing of all these things. But if you are outsourcing, so what happens is your task is focused on overseeing or monitoring. Okay, monitoring the vendor who is developing the system. And then you have to monitor all the operation done with the mentor or the vendor. And before that, selection of the right vendor. That's your job. You may be assisting in selection process, evaluation of right vendor, then monitoring if the vendor is selected. But before that, when you are selecting the vendor, there is one thing very important called SLA, service level agreement. That includes various important terminologies like what you call turnaround time promised, TRA, turnaround, TAR, turnaround time, TAT, then what do you call it, downtime, what do you call, and then you have compliances. This should be covered, auditability and ownership of data. And all these are the important factors that should be covered in SLA. And once you have covered all these things, then your job is to just monitor. When you talk about acquisition, similar kind of things are there, except the monitoring part. You have to select the right software package for your organization, right software, right? And there are factors like performance, price, But the most important is service and support. If vendor is giving you good service and support, I think then that should be your primary objective. But then again, these all service level agreement and parameters would be important. So this is how acquisition happens. Beside this, I think there is an important topic in this module, that is project management, which is basically the job of your manager, project manager. But yes, it's substantial because you are an auditor. So you have to make sure the project manager is doing things in a proper way. So what happens here is there are tools and techniques which are very important. You should emphasize on using that, like software size, evaluation, estimation. And there are techniques like line of code, LOC, then you have, but this is obsolete. Nobody uses now because there are chances of frauds here. Then you have what you call FPA, function point analysis, which is very important. Then you have feature point analysis. Right, so here it is, function point analysis. If it is a customized developed software, function point analysis. If it is a cloud-based service, so only you will think, see which features are being required for the customer, and accordingly will charge the customer. So this is about software size. Then if it is about schedule, if you want to develop schedule for development as a manager, you want to take care of the schedule, and as an auditor, you want to review the schedule. There's a technique called a Gantt chart. Right, Gantt chart is there. If it is about what you call time estimation of task, I guess all of you can identify estimation. Which technique is used? Time estimation of task. Anyone? I think you all are thinking right. It is PERT, program evaluation and review technique, PERT technique. And if it is about scheduling and controlling, and perhaps you can say optimize utilization of resources, effective utilization of resources. It is basically your, what do you call? Any guess? Critical path method. And slack should be 0 on critical path. On critical path, slack should be 0. And you all know the critical path is the longest path, or perhaps the shortest path that is required to complete the project. You cannot finish it before it, but it would be the longest path in the network if there are many paths, right? So try to understand it clearly, otherwise you may get confused. So this was about module 5, a pretty lengthy one, a lot of terminologies are there. But then comes your module 6, which is reasonably very easy. Some of the key terms which you need to understand here is that we are focusing on auditing of a software, right? So a software is basically a tool or an enabler for a business. So for any business, first thing is business model. Then comes business process. And finally comes business application software. So if you want to audit application software, you must understand the business model. You should start with business model and then understand business processes, so that you understand whether really there is a need of application software. And there are so many different kinds of application software for accounting, for finance, marketing, different features are there. You can have ERPs and whatnot, accounting and all. So how to audit application software, right? So when it comes to audit, so what you have to do is, it's a process. It's a systematic process. Here you have to test controls, right? I think we already talked about the process, like what do you call, plan, evaluate, and report. But test controls, which controls? So controls are there, like input controls, processing control, output controls, input controls, application security. For security, you have application boundary control. Right, and then you have input controls, right? And then you have processing controls, output controls. You have output controls. And one final, very important one, file controls, where the data is actually kept, right? File controls, where the data is actually stored. Not only the output that is generated, but where the actual data is stored. So you have to test all these controls. And there are so many techniques like observation. Then you have integrated test facility, you have audit hooks. There are so many techniques that you can apply. Retesting, right? Reperforming, all those things are there, reperformance. So there are different techniques you can have, like if you are dealing with the data, you can have duplication check, you can have integrity check, you can have what do you call parity check, digit check. There are so many different kind of controls you can use for testing all these controls and specifically the data, right? So this is about how you audit an application, and finally comes your business continuity management. The point is, if all these practices fails, right? If your systems fail due to any incident or challenge or crisis, you must have something to keep your system up and running. So you need business continuity management, and BCM, we call it as, it's basically, what do you call? I would write an equation here. So incident response plan, IRP, plus DRP, disaster recovery, or BCM, we can write it, BCM, business continuity planning and disaster recovery planning. If you prepare these three documents, these are three documents, right? So manuals, if your manuals are ready, your people are ready, who will be handling these manuals and operations, roles and responsibilities are defined, you are doing business continuity management, right? Right from the incident, when it gets initiated, your job of business continuity management, the whole process starts. If it is an incident, immediately look and try to manage, control, and make the system operational. If you are not able to handle it, it turns into crisis or a disaster, then immediately, first of all, initiate that. Okay, first put it DRP. Okay, so initiate that, or perhaps announce that it is a disaster. The moment you announce this is a disaster, your disaster recovery team will start operating, like contingency planning and all, evacuation and everything. And at the same time, you will pass on a signal to your business continuity team that it's a disaster, system is down, and you start operating the critical operation at alternative site. So BCP operates at alternative sites. Now, the point is how we can have effective BCM, business continuity management. There's a very important term for that. We call it as business impact analysis, BIA, right? So BIA is business impact analysis, where we are identifying critical business operations, without which organization can't operate. So all those identifying, okay, without identifying those things, we cannot really continue our critical operations. And we'll identify the most critical ones, right? We cannot really put everything on BCP because it will be a huge investment. So identify the most mission critical applications. Like, for example, if you talk about banking, so online banking, mobile banking are mission critical. Why? If there's a tsunami or so, like one state is being affected, so there are branches which are affected, but still, if you have internet banking, mobile banking, you can deliver your critical operations, right? Critical transactions can be taken up. So these are more critical if you talk about banking. So BIA is important. You cannot really continue everything. So BIA help you identifying which things should be available on alternative sites. So what is alternative site now? Alternative sites can be many, right? like your, what do you call, mobile side, we can say mirror side. There are terms which you should be aware about. Mirror sides, mobile side, hot side, cold side, hot, warm, cold, right? I hope you all are aware of these things. Then why they are different, like which one is more expensive and all those things need to be clear to all of you. And then something is very important when it comes to business continuity, that is backup, right? So backup you have to be take care of, means you should take care of. Then there are terms like full backup. Then there is incremental differential, right? Differential. So there is a difference. Full means complete. Incremental means only what has been done today. But differential only talks, many times what happens, there are processes where files are not getting created every day, right? So you are not getting new and newer files, same files are getting updated. So in that case, incremental becomes a little complicated. So what we do is we monitor the changes, right? So it only focus on the changes, right? So it focus on a basic strategy, whatever new, whatever happened today. You may say that these are quite overlapping statements, but it's like first incremental was discovered, then there was some challenges, so they came up with a new term called differential. So it's like how we evolve after observing problems, we come up with a better solution, right? You may say, sir, when you are saying whatever happened today, whatever new happened today, this covers the changes also. Yeah, I agree, but here it was more of a new files, right? So they were more on focus on new files that have been created. So instead they enhanced the technology and concept in a more appropriate way, that differential one, like it only covers the changes, whether it is the same file or new file. So that way, please try to understand. Okay. So this is the thing. Yeah, I think I've covered most of the things. Yeah, there are some important terms like RPO, recovery point objectives, RTO. So these gives you, excuse me, sorry for interruption. When you try to perform beyond your this, so risk is always there. So I think I need a meal, right, or energy. I'm exhausted. Okay, anyways, RPO is recovery point objective, RTO is recovery time. It talks, recovery time talks about the time within which the recovery should be there. I told you, so when you are appearing for your exam, make sure you take energy breaks, right? 1-2 minute energy breaks after 1 hour. Otherwise, you may get exhausted. RTO, recovery time, means the time within which system should recover, or critical system should recover from disaster. I think I badly need energy break. Okay, recover. Low on energy. Anyways, RPO is like how much data loss you can withstand. So it's in terms of data loss, right? How much data loss you can withstand. So these are two different matrices, right? With this. So these are two different matrices, means parameters, measurement parameters. Here we are measuring in terms of time. Here we are measuring in terms of data loss. So these two different terms can give you much better control and idea about how we should handle our business continuity. So quickly, these are the things that are there in your all 7 modules. And you have to have a clarity. 3 things, prerequisite: technical knowledge, technique to attempt question, and clear understanding of all English terms. If you are working on these 3 things, only thing left is action plan for the exam, before exam and on the exam day. So we covered all the things. The only thing left is the technique, the most much awaited thing, right? So technique, what is the technique of attempting the question? Now let me discuss that technique. And when you will see that technique, you will be surprised to see you are doing all the things wrong, right? So what's the technique? The technique is that you say, this seems like fun. Read question carefully and skip the question. Skip it if you haven't understood it without reading the answer. This is the key thing. You don't have to read the answers if you haven't understood the question. Now you would be wondering why this is significant here. The idea is, Nandaji mentioned, you are not a machine, right? So you are not a machine, you are human being. Machines don't have family, machines don't have dependency, machine don't have power requirement, meal requirement, rest requirement, family requirements. So it means that you cannot overload your brain. If you are overloading your brain cycles, your energy is getting wasted, and you are wasting your energy in the battlefield, you'll be killed sooner or later, right? So don't waste your energy. That's the mantra. So read the question carefully and skip it if you haven't understood it, and move to the next question. And if you have understood the question, identify key terms and what has been asked. Now, this is important. Many times we get confused when you are reading the question. We focus on key terms and we think that this is what is asked. And the understanding, meaning of the question totally changes, and there's a big risk. I'll quickly take 1-2 examples to demonstrate this technique so that you get an understanding why this technique is so significant. And if you're not using this technique, the risk of failing increases multifold. Okay, so if you have understood the question, identify key terms separately. Maybe if it is a written exam, take a pencil, create circle around key terms, create box, rectangle box around what has been asked. Okay, so it means out of a very lengthy question, you have marked certain things. These are the circles, what key terms, and this is what has been asked. Rest is garbage. Okay, so rest is garbage. So you have to only focus on the things which are material. So this is what audit says, right? And if you are not following the same strategy, risk-based strategy, you are not going to conquer the exam. And if you don't understand the question, don't waste time. Don't really waste your energy. Otherwise, there's a big risk. When easy questions will come, your brain would be exhausted. So be a smart player. Okay, if you have understood the question, you have identified key terms and what has been asked, read first option at a time and mark it as acceptable or rejected. Okay. There may be doubt. So mark it as acceptable or rejected. Acceptable means there may be chance that this may be a right answer. But if it doesn't sync with your understanding, so simply say rejected so that it doesn't create further confusion. Rejected means rejected. And then move on to the next option and mark it as acceptable and rejected. Once you are done with all the options, like all 4 options, but don't move to the next option before you decide about the previous option. So once you have done all these things, you will be having different scenarios. Either like if you get the scenario, one option is in acceptable category, rest 3 are in rejection category or rejected category, you are lucky. The question is easy, straight question. So you are done. That's the right answer. But if you get more than one in acceptable category, then you have some serious job at hand. So you have to do impact and relevance analysis. So try to understand the option and see which one is more significant, which has more impact, which has more risk, which has more significance, which is giving more value. That is the right answer. So you have to compare which one is more significant based on key terms. Based on key terms, you have to decide which one is more significant, has more impact, and then you will get the right answer. And once you are following this strategy for all the questions that you are understanding, mind it, the question that you are understanding, you'll come, there will be a point where you will reach to the end of the question paper. Once you reach to the end of the question paper, your brain is full of positive, correct knowledge. You have only selected right question that you understand. You process the answers. You select the right answers. During this, you gain a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, fresh knowledge, correct knowledge. and your brain is ready for those questions that you have skipped. And then you revisit those skipped questions. There are fair chances that you will now mark those tough questions as correct, most of them as correct. If you follow this technique, chances are higher, right? So I've seen, let me talk about statistically. I've seen and observed, if you're following this technique seriously, your chances of getting success becomes or increase by 20 to 30%. So let's say you are assuming you may score 40 to 50% marks. So if you're following the technique, it is automatically 70 to 80%, right? So that's the beauty of this technique. And the moment you will start practicing this technique, you will see the magic. So I'll quickly take 1-2 questions to demonstrate how this technique has to be practiced so that you can take this up and can be the master and can really solve your problem. Let me just quickly take it. I'll take 1-2 questions to show you how to use this technique, right? In the meantime, if you have any queries and doubts, please pass on to the coordinator or the moderator of the event, right? I'll take up your questions now. Yeah, any questions? May I have inputs from the moderator of the session?
So there are some few questions, but should we take it a while later? Like if you are just...
No, please forward the question. Tell me what are the questions. Can you quickly read out the questions?
What are the basic 5 thumb rules so that we can crack this exam easily?
Yeah, the thumb rule is the technique I mentioned. Technique and this, like the whole document that I have presented so far, it has all the thumb rules. So thumb rule, again, let me quickly show you. The thumb rule is, okay, here it is, the thumb rule. If you can see the screen, these are the 3 prerequisites. Master these 3 things and then make your action plan. So your job is done. So this is the thumb rule. This is the thumb rule which I have shown you on the screen. And the whole document I prepared right in front of you. So see the power of the brain. If you start using your brain power, you can do wonders, right? The only thing is planning and systematic execution, right? So that's the thumb rule. Any other question?
Sir, shall we get the recorded lecture or PPT of Omkar sir and notepad file of Vijay sir? So obviously.
Yeah, of course. This is their asset, right? So we are here for them only. So if they need this notepad file, yeah, surely I can provide you. Perhaps I can straight away send you in the chat itself right away. So you can download it and you can, share it with the participants. I think the option is not there in the chat right now. Okay, let me see the chat window. Yeah, here it is. So I'm sending you the file, ma'am, so you can share it with them. Yeah. Any other question?
Can we get the weightage of marks topic wise?
Yeah, I showed you. It is in the notepad file itself. Let me just show you the. Just a second. Yeah, the name of the file is Strategy for DISA. It covers everything, right? The weightage also. Again, I'll share you the screen. You will see the weightage was shown right in the start. So if you see, I started with the weightage only, right? This is the weightage for your DISA 2 exam. 20%, 13%, 13%, 13%, 20%, 14% module wise. So this is the weightage. So I have covered everything in this notepad file. So I have sent you, ma'am. You can see it is in the chat window. You can download this file and can forward to the members straight away.
One last question.
Yeah.
So you told avoid mock test one day before exam, and the exam is usually on Saturday. No.
It's okay, but I told you if you show, let me show you the strategy again.
They are asking what should be the strategy for previous day.
Avoid doing mock test. Previous day means you have to take rest. I have mentioned everything. Enjoy your day so that your mind is fresh.
Yes, I feel these are the only questions that, and whether syllabus of 2.0 is same as 3.0.
No. There is a difference. There is a whole, transformation in the structure of the course, but topics are more or less same. Technically, if you talk about the content, There is only 5 to 10% change in the content, but the structure of modules, like there are 7 modules, there are 6 modules, the structure and the grouping of topics is different. But if you talk about the concept and technicality, there is only 5 to 10% difference. So if you're preparing for 3 and 2, or perhaps 2 or 3, there is hardly change of 5 to 10%. Rest the content is same, but the structure of exam, structure of the module is different.
And how many days preparation required for the AT exam?
I told you, if you have already done training course, so what you need is 1 week before, and then so at least 1 week is required where you can execute this plan. So you can see everything I have mentioned. So you at least need 1 week before the exam to get yourself ready. And these are prerequisite, I told you. So these things should be ready when you are executing this action plan. Your course material revision, technique to attempt question, and clarity of English terms. If you have done these 3 things, you can execute your action plan. That is the 4th part, and take 3 mock tests before your exam. On the previous day of the exam, take rest, and on exam day, plan it systematically and give it in breaks. So that way you will be able to easily crack this exam.
Yes, sir. Great. I feel this notepad would be the only like Sahara. It would help them a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that's all. I feel there are no more questions.
Okay, thank you, and wish you all the best, all the members. I think it's not tough. It's just about belief and systematic planning, right? All the best.
Yes, we had a great time, and I feel this would really help all the participants a lot. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank
you. Thank you, Preksha ma'am. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you all.